Do you ever just feel like your entire desktop computer is in complete chaos? You've spent so much time organizing your home and all the things that you have, but you forget that one of the most important things that you do every day is you go on your computer and you spend 15 minutes trying to find the file that you're looking for. I have spent the last several years on this channel teaching digital organization with tools like Google Photos and Notion, but one of the main tools that I teach is a concept I call the 13 pillars. I haven't done a video on it in a while, so I thought I would do an update video and talk about a new framework I've added into what types of things you can organize using the 13 pillars system. So the 13 pillars is a framework that I created as kind of a Frankenstein version of one created by a fellow Notion creator named August Bradley. When I first started learning Notion, I just binge watched all of his videos and I learned so much. I highly recommend him as an online person to follow, but he created this concept called Pillars, Pipelines, and Vaults, PPV system. Now, what I did is I took just the pillar part and I was like, I really love these ideas of a pillar. I kind of tweaked them to fit my brain and my life. I created the 13 pillars concept and I added colors, which were not part of the original PPV. So I always credit August Bradley for coming up with the original pillar concept. I have tweaked it and changed it. So now that's something that I have just put on this channel and just shared with you guys. So basically what it comes to is I can organize my life into 13 distinct pillars. These are categories that I have not been able to find anything that doesn't fit into these 13. And I use it for so many things, and we'll get into that as we go. First, I want to explain the pillars, and then the second half of the video, I'll be sharing you how to apply them to everything from your inbox to your, ChatGPT to your folders and any platform. What I love about this concept is that it's platform agnostic. It can be used on anything. I use it in my 3-ring binders sitting over here in my folders. I use it for so much and it has completely transformed the way that I organize my entire life. Let's get started. I'll walk through the 13 pillars and we'll kind of go by category and just explain what fits into each, and then we'll move into how to apply them. Okay, so the first category of the 3 is home. This has the most categories, but it's also the one that's probably the most easy to understand. So the first category, I actually added this one, is entertainment. So this covers everything from TV shows, movies, any fun things that you're doing in your life, whether it's going to an event. This can include things like music, podcasts. So if anything that I have in my house in a file has to do with entertainment or movie or something, I'll put it in that main general category folder. All right, the second category is family. Family includes everything from your kids, your spouse, cousins, parents, pets. This can include your kids' school work. A lot of people have asked me about that. Where do my kids' school? That goes under family because it has to do with your children. It's not your work, it's your children's work. So anything to do with people in your family. This can include family reunions. I would put family trips under travel, which we'll talk about in a second, but anything to do with family goes in the family category. Okay, the next category is friends and social. And this includes everything from social events. This could also include networking events, dating as well. So this is kind of like social, anything involving your community or groups that you go to. So if you're part of like a membership, this all is included in friends and social. So that is basically what I would recommend for that category. All right, the fourth category, this is a big one. This is home and household. This is anything to do with your house, whether it's your garage, the food. Food is under health and fitness, but like anything in your kitchen goes under home and household. This also for me includes things like fashion, jewelry, anything to do with that goes into home and household. This could include things like errands, anything to do with moving or all that stuff. That all goes into home and household. All right, the fifth one, this is personal finance. So this is your personal money. This goes everything from budgeting, bills, investing, anything that has to do with taxes, business financials, so anything to do with money for the most part goes in this one. We'll talk about sales in a different one, but this is specifically money management, all goes into personal finance. All right, the next and final category is travel. So this is anything from your car. Anything about your car goes under travel. Trips, packing lists, anything that you have to do with travel photos, anything to do with travel goes into this category. So that's the first 6 categories of the 13 pillar framework, and they all are under the home category. All right, moving on to the middle category. This is business. So most of my stuff is focused on business owners, but if you have a job, I also recommend using this business one as well. So instead of business projects, it could be work projects, it could be things you're doing for your job. So the first one is business projects. So this includes all of your initiatives that you're working on. For me, it's things like my YouTube channel, my book, the services that I offer. So anything having to do with the packaging of the offers that I have or any of the business projects that I'm working on. This does not include client projects. This is personal projects. So anything that you're doing to grow your own business, and then everything else for clients goes separately, and then content goes somewhere else. So it's more of the general main concepts around the projects that you're doing. All right, the next category, this is a big one. This is clients. So this is the work that you're doing for your clients. So this is your CRM, your contact list. This is some of the projects you're working on for your clients, and then I would organize it by client. Any communications or emails with them. Everything with clients where it's not your business, it's you doing work for a client goes into clients. All right, the next one is big one also. If you're doing any type of content creation, so this could be anything from YouTube videos, podcasts, social media posts. This is, again, more geared towards business owners, but even if you're, an influencer or online creator, this could work for you as well. Or even if you're posting on your own personal social media, I would recommend putting that in this content creation category. This is great for all types of things. So you know that it's not a business project, it's specifically content. It's not for clients, it's for you. This is your content creation kind of bucket for categories. All right, the last one is kind of one that I've over the years haven't used as much and kind of have sort of put in with content creation, and that's sales and marketing. Now, I have kind of created a separate bucket for this because there are a lot of sales initiatives that don't have to do with content, like your website, a sales funnel, webinars, things that aren't really content, but they're actually just sales initiatives. This could include things like analytics, tracking money, that sort of thing. This is really just more of a sales and marketing bucket that's a little different than content creation, which is just straight up creating content to attract your audience. So those are the 4 categories inside of business. And then we have 3 more categories, which have to do more with mental and spiritual health. All right, so the last 3 categories are under the health umbrella. And the first one is health and fitness. Now this has to do with anything with the gym, supplements, working out, exercise, food, meal planning, meal prepping, anything to do with health and fitness goes into the orange health and fitness category. And I haven't been saying all the colors, I'll just put them over here on the side so you can read them. But for me, I know all the colors immediately because I've used them so much that I could just tell you immediately what color is for each. Now, you can choose different colors, but I'm just like, I just picked these and I like them and I've been using them for the last couple of years. So for me, I don't change them. It will confuse me, so I have just stuck with the same color palette. And some of them, for example, orange just kind of gives me that sense of action, and for pink, because home is just kind of more of a feminine style. So again, for me, and black, I put for entertainment because I thought of a black screen. So for me, I really did think about the colors before I kind of assigned them. And then the next one is mental clarity. This has to do with anything with emotional health. This can include things like therapy, any neurodivergent conditions you have, or any sort of mental health conditions, whether it's OCD, bipolar, BPD, anything that has to do with your mental health. Mental clarity is that category. This can also include things like journaling and maybe even meditation, things like that could go in this category. However, the catch-all category, I call it, is the mind expansion category. Originally, this is more for things like learning, schoolwork, courses, books, anything note-wise. This can also include things like spirituality, so church, anything to do with anything else, tech, anything that doesn't fit into any of the other 12 categories goes into mind expansion. And so for me, that's why I'm saying I have not found a single thing in the last 4 years that doesn't fit into one of these 13 categories, the 13 pillars. So you might be thinking, okay, well, there's all these different categories, there's different colors. What does this actually mean? So I'm very excited to walk through how I apply them. And I've created a new framework, another framework. I'm a framework queen, and it's called the F.I.L.E framework. Now, the reason I created a framework is because people would always come up to me and be like, okay, well, where can I use the 13 pillars? What are list off all the things that you can use it for. So I thought I would just create a better way to organize the ways that you can use the 13 pillars. So the F.I.L.E framework stands for folders and file storage, inboxes and inputs, libraries and links, execution tools, and sharing and showcase. So we're gonna go through each of them and I'll walk you through what each of those means and how you can use it. And I'll show you guys some screenshots of what I do on all of these. I have some videos actually walking through how to do them, so I'll leave those linked below. Make sure to follow my Substack where I'll link all of these and have it way more in detail, so that will be down below as well. But I just wanted to share with you guys specifically some examples of each category. So we'll start with the first one. I'm gonna be looking at my computer because I have to, double check everything. So the first one is folders and file storage. So this is things like Google Drive, Dropbox, Google Photos, Canva folders. This is also just any of your desktop folders. So just folders in general. If you store a lot of content like videos or photos in folders, this is a great way to organize. So every pillar has a folder. So you're gonna have a mental clarity one, a mind expansion, you're gonna have them all. And what's cool about a lot of these platforms is you can color coordinate. You can even color coordinate ChatGPT now. That one is actually part of this as well. So ChatGPT, so anything that has a folder is going to have a color as well, and it's going to be organized into the 13 pillars. I don't usually add those 3 top levels, I just do the 13, and I just know which one they're part of. So for me, this could include things like Google Drive, my desktop. This could include things like Canva, Google Photos, which I've done tons of videos on. And for me, this is a great way, if you have like hundreds of files, you'll get so used to just dragging and dropping and putting them into one of those 13 folders. And that is the easiest way to clean things up. From there, then you could create further folders and further subcategories. But for me, even just clearing things out, I do this for clients too, where they just have like a million different photos. They have like, one's a personal thing, one's a business thing. I put them all into the 13 categories and immediately everything gets so organized and people can find things so much quicker because they know exactly what category it's in. This has, like I said before, completely revolutionized the way that I organize my computer and my life, so that it's almost in just like in buckets. You don't even have to always have subcategories. I do for me just because I have so much stuff. But for me, it's like, okay, if I found a podcast recording, pop it into content creation. If I found a pay stub, I'll put it into personal finance. Like there's so many things that are just easy, quick. I know exactly where it goes. And that has made my life so much easier. I'll kind of link below some of the videos to watch too if you want more information about each of those. But that's kind of the first category, which is folders and file storage. Okay, so the next one is inboxes and inputs. So this includes things like Gmail, Apple Notes, Google Keep, voice memos, anything that is more of like an incoming thing. That is something that I would recommend for an inbox. So for me, this is mostly notes and your email inbox. So I recommend I use Gmail. I'm a big fan of Gmail. So you might see over here that I actually have all of my folders organized with a top level being the pillar, and I have it color coordinated so that when you look at my inbox, this is one of my example inboxes, you will see that everything has a color attached. So I immediately know, and I filtered all of these so that they actually come in and they're already filtered to the color folder. And I have a whole video on how to do that down below. So there is so much to that, but to me, inboxes is one of the best ways to use the pillars because otherwise everything's everywhere and you don't know what things are for. For me, this has revolutionized my life. One of my biggest tips about inboxes is have a separate inbox just for newsletters. So mine is Jenna's email newsletters, and that's what anytime someone asks for my email, I just give them my newsletter email, and that way I can still look at it, but it's not coming into my phone as like a notification, but I can still go through every week and update it and make sure I'm not missing anything. That has been a huge game changer for me, and one that I recommend to everyone is to create a newsletter email for themselves, and then your main inbox is just for personal and business work. I also use this for things like Apple Notes, so this is kind of just quick things I'm adding. So you can see I have my Apple Notes organized by category as well. You can create folders in Apple Notes, a lot of people don't know that. Same with Google, any type of notes, usually you can add folders. So I would have the main levels of folders be the 13 pillars. Okay, libraries and links. This is great for things like bookmarks, Pinterest, which I do organize it kind of on Pinterest, Substack or Read It Later apps. I use this also for my Notion bookmark folder. So I use the Notion bookmarking app that saves articles from online, and I put them into a Notion database that has it organized by pillar. So sometimes you have to do it after the fact, but for me, at least I have them organized by pillar. This is really, really great for me, Chrome, my Chrome bookmark folders. So if I ever bookmark something on Chrome, I can automatically just move it to the folder, and so I know how to find it again. So I know a lot of people, if you bookmark things, you know, it's kind of chaotic. Create these 13 pillars in your folders and you can have it much more organized. Okay, execution tools. This includes things like Notion itself. I use the 13 pillars on almost every Notion database that I have. If you download my template, most of the stuff on there is organized into these 13 pillars. You might be thinking, what are all these folders? That is why. I have organized everything on Notion into these 13 pillars. So that's been very helpful. But if you use other apps, other to-do apps, like things like Trello, and your calendar, I also organize all of my calendars on, Notion Calendar and Google Calendar to fit the 13 pillars as well. So that's been very helpful for me as I have been really focused on calendarizing my life. And to me, Notion Calendar is amazing. If you haven't downloaded it, it's a separate desktop app to Notion. It's also available on your phone. Highly recommend. All right, the last one is one that I'm still not sure if I do this as much, but this is if you're publicly sharing it. You can have, your reels planned out, like your content can be planned out by category. You can have different YouTube playlists organized by the pillar. Again, it could be internal, external. For me, I actually have a separate one that I use for myself. It's not based on the 13 pillars, but I wanted to share that you could do it if you wanted to have things organized publicly in the 13 pillars. I personally chose to create a one called Organize, which is right over here. This is how I organize my things on my YouTube channel. You can literally see that each of my playlists on my YouTube channel has to spell out the word organize. And you can also see, I just did this last week. I redid all of my YouTube thumbnails. So each color has a different, like for example, grow with content is one of the categories. So now all my content videos have a blue background. So if you're looking through quickly my YouTube channel, if you spot the background color, that's going to go to one of these of the 7 organize systems. So that's just something that I have recently switched to, and it's been very helpful because obviously I don't talk about each of these 13 pillars in my content, but you could if you wanted to, or maybe do something else. So for me, that is something that is not the most necessary one, but it's something you could also do. So what does this mean? So now you kind of are, maybe your head's spinning and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to reorganize everything in my life. Do it by, start with one platform, whichever one's the most, important. Maybe it's your inbox, maybe it's your folders, maybe it's, whatever. Start with that and you'll get practiced over time. And after a while, it won't be so much work because it's already a system and it's very, very easy for you to move things. But if you don't like the 13 pillars, what do? Maybe you don't have a business and you don't want to do it. I recommend using things like ChatGPT to come up with your own system. I use ChatGPT to create frameworks all the time. In fact, the 13 pillars was created before I started using AI. And if I were to redo it now, I would probably have a better acronym for it. But I've been teaching it for 4 years, so I'm not really gonna change it. But I have started adding new frameworks into my business and into my life, and a lot of them have acronyms. I'm a big acronym girl. That has become something that I've realized about myself is it helps me remember, it helps me organize it, and I will do a video at some point about all of the acronyms and all the frameworks I've created. But for me, using AI and ChatGPT to help me create frameworks, so I just put in a bunch of stuff and it tells me based off that, what's a good acronym, and it sometimes gives me multiple options. I pick whichever one I think makes the most sense. Even for this one, this files that I made today, that was using ChatGPT. I tried a few different options. This was the one that fit the best. So for me, it helps me organize my YouTube videos. It helps me with so many different things when it comes to my life and business. And so for me, start with whatever you want, don't force it, but I highly recommend this pillar system. It has really, really, really game changed my life and business, especially if you're an ADHD or autistic like me. I like having order. I really like having a system, and for many years I didn't. And the moment that I started using this system, it changed my life. And that's why I like to share it, because it is something that I've heard from other people that have told me they love this system, that they needed something like this, that it just hits their brain in the right way. That's why it hit me. I was like, oh my God, this is so easy to understand. It makes so much sense logically, and it's also easy to remember. So I hope that this was a helpful video for everyone. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, make sure to down below. I also have all this listed in my Substack, which you haven't subscribed to. It's called the Optimization Toolbox. I send it out once a week. It includes my YouTube channel videos as well as my podcast. the optimization toolbox. So I hope that you guys check it out. It's free to join, and I'll see you guys next week. Make sure to check out all of my stuff. My Notion course is coming out soon, my 2.0, and I'll see you guys in the future. Have a great day. Bye.